More often than not, when I need a database management system to use along with PHP, I typically use a DBMS called MySQL. MySQL can be free if you don't want to pay for it, and it is readily available, and it's very production grade in that it's a nice piece of software that you can use in very realistic circumstances. It's not just something that you would use in class as an example. So MySQL, I think, is a good database management system to get used to and to learn a little bit about. If you want to install the MySQL DBMS on OS X, there's several different ways to do it, but my favorite way is by using a program called Homebrew. Homebrew is a little package manager for OS X, essentially a program that makes it easy for you to install other programs. If you go to the Brew website, which is brew.sh, down towards the bottom of that page, they have a big long command that you can type right here. All you essentially need to do is copy that command, paste it into a terminal window. You can find your terminal window under the Utilities folder below Applications. And then when you run that command, that will install your Homebrew program for you. Once the Homebrew program is actually installed, you can then use it to install MySQL about as easy as can be. If you wanted to install MySQL with Homebrew, all you would have to do is type brew install MySQL and hit the enter key. At that point, it will automatically download, install, and configure MySQL for you. So at that point, you have MySQL installed just that quick. Couldn't be much easier. There are a few little details here about the installation that just occurred. One of them is that even though MySQL is currently installed, it is not currently running. You can choose how it is that you want the server to get started. If you want it to happen automatically, every time you start up your computer, you want the database management system to automatically start running, then you can copy the command that's given to you by Homebrew right here. Just copy that command, paste it back in, and hit the enter key so the command runs. Then take the next command that's given here and do the same thing. Copy it, paste it right back in, and run it. At that point, the server will be running, and every time you start your computer in the future, the server will start automatically. The other option, if you want to have a little bit more manual control, or you don't want the server to run all the time for whatever reason, is that you can use a command similar to this in order to start and stop the server manually. So here, if I wanted to go ahead and start my SQL server, I could type MySQL server start, and when I hit enter, it will start up the server, and the server is now running for me. Well, if the server is running, where is it? I don't actually see anything. This is something that often throws people off the first time they deal with a server. Most of us tend to think of programs we install on our computer as being like applications, programs that have some user-facing component that we can actually see on our screen. But MySQL here is an actual server. It's a piece of software that runs in the background and services requests that come in over a network connection. So it's there, it's running, we just can't actually see it. If we want to be able to actually use the server, what we need is a piece of software that will let us connect to it over our network connection. The piece of software that's most often used for this is a piece of software called the MySQL Workbench. If we go to the mysql.com website, click on the downloads link at the top, and then click on Community, which is where the free software is. Good stuff. If I scroll down here a little bit, you should find a link for the MySQL Workbench. This Workbench is a client program that will allow me to connect to a running MySQL server. I'm going to go ahead and click Download. It detects that I'm using a Mac, so it automatically suggests that I download the version of it for Mac OS X. If I then go ahead and click the download link, it takes me to a page where it asks me to sign up for an account, but if you'll notice just below that, you can say no thanks, just start my download. And at that point, the download will begin. Once the download is complete, in your Downloads folder, you should have downloaded a file that looks something like this. It ends in DMG. If you double-click on that file that was just downloaded, OS X will mount it, making the software inside of that file available to you. So here's the program that's inside that DMG file, and if I want to install it, all I need to do is drag it here to my Applications folder. So I'll just drag it here and let it go. It'll take it just a second as it copies it out of the DMG file over to my Applications folder, and once it's done, it's done. At that point, the software is installed. If you now go over to your Applications folder, you should be able to, under that folder, find the MySQL Workbench that you just installed. There it is. I actually have an older copy that's still sitting around there too, but here's the new one that I just installed. If I double click on it, it'll start the program up. When the program actually starts, this is the way it looks, and what it wants me to do is to connect to a MySQL server that's running, and it's automatically here provided me with a little box that says localhost root, and it says localhost 3306 as the port number. That's the actual copy of MySQL that's running on my computer. If I click on that, it may stop at that point and ask you for your password. Just give it the same password that you've had in there before. And we are now connected through the workbench to our local server. Here we can go to the server status section and see how our server is actually running, monitor its performance, see if it's up and running, all that good sort of stuff. We can also through here back up and restore our database. We can see any tables that we may have created down here towards the bottom. And we can work with users and privileges to create new accounts to determine who is able to access our database and who isn't. So the workbench becomes the little tool that we can use for communicating and working directly with our database management system, which can be great when we're working with PHP because it gives us sort of a sanity check in a way. If there's something that's working or not working from PHP, we can always come here, go directly to the database and see if we can't figure out what's going on from that point. The workbench, of course, is also good for being able to simply monitor the server and to do any pre-configuration we need before our PHP work. So now that we have the workbench for being able to communicate with our server and the server itself actually installed, we're ready to have PHP begin to start talking to our databases.